Let's go.
Hello and welcome in. It is the Stan and Neil Show for a Tuesday. Thank you for joining us here on Twitch. Don't forget, you can also catch the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Great to have you with us. Neil, how was your weekend?
Oh, Stan, I have so much sadness. I need to share my sadness with the Twitch world and the streaming world. I did not realize how deeply involved in this Mariner Cinderfella story until last night when George Springer, of all people, you know, they have a statue of him up in stores, Stan.
Yeah, you've told me many times on SportsCenter.
He hit that ball. I felt, I shared like the biggest baseball fan and the biggest Mariner fan, and Uncle Bill and Aunt Jane would drive to Arizona every spring. They would go to spring training. Uncle Bill would tell me, these are the Mariners to look for in the future. I mean, he's been doing this for 20 plus years, 30 plus. I mean, and to be that close and to know that, if he wanted, we were going to get him to a World Series game. And I thought about like Kenny Mayne growing up, with Seattle. I thought about Harold Reynolds, who's got to be impartial on the Major League Baseball Network, but he's one of the, first dudes I think of when I think of Seattle, and it's just that Seattle needed that win. The Pacific Northwest needed that win. The West Coast, not the Southern California West Coast, but the gritty West Coast up there needed that win. And wow, I was so bummed. I mean, and listen, I think probably the better team won. Toronto was a great team. They're going to give the Dodgers a good run. The Mariners were definitely the better story, just having never been to the World Series. So I needed to share that sadness while reminding you that you can join me in my sadness and Stan in his as he gets ready for his inaugural NBA season with the Clippers. You can join us by subscribing at 3 different levels. There's the rookie, there's the all-pro, and there's the Hall of Famer. And speaking of baseball, we'll have we have a baseball guest coming up later in the show, courtesy of my man Stan. Got his doppelganger to come join the show.
Jerry Hairston Jr., the Dodgers studio analyst on their broadcast team, is going to join us to talk World Series and help Neil get over his Seattle sadness coming up a little bit later. But we got to talk football first. Let's start with that Lions-Bucks game. The Lions win it 24-9. And how about Jahmyr Gibbs? Man, what a performance for him. 17 carries, 136 yards, average 8 yards per game, 8 yards per carry, rather, on the ground. And in terms of scrimmage yards, he had 218 yards from scrimmage. One of the best dual-threat running backs in the country, in the NFL, I should say, in terms of running the ball and catching passes out of the backfield. And Detroit bounces back from that loss to Kansas City and puts it on Tampa Bay. What'd you see last night?
I've got a lot on this, Stan. Okay, so just sit back and get ready. Okay.
Right.
Okay, listen, what I shared last week, the Lions were 11-0 after a loss, longest set streak in the NFL. Okay, that's 12-0. They hadn't had back-to-back losses since 2022. Still haven't. They 18-5 at home. Make that 19-5 at home. Remember, I said they're given the Lions are favored by 5.5. They're begging you to take the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
they were begging you, which means you had to take the Lions.
Okay, your betting strategy always confuses me. So
I know,
okay, but I think I got it now. I don't bet, so it's all entertainment for me.
I don't either, but if I did, you would have had to take the Lions. All right, okay. So now I'm reading. So I did a little deep dive on Jahmyr Gibbs. This might take us to the top of the hour. Most scrimmage yards by a Lion since Calvin Johnson. Okay, Calvin Johnson had 329 in 2013. All receiving yards, by the way.
Yeah.
14 catches, 329 yards against Dallas. Okay, remember, this is the same year, 2013, that Calvin Johnson was on the cover of Madden and everybody's like, "Oh no, he's on the cover of Madden, the Madden curse."
Right.
He averaged 123 receiving yards per game in 2012, and so they put him on the Madden box. He still averaged 107 receiving yards per game. And if you're like bogus on the curse, like that's all hockey talk. Well, from a wide receiver standpoint, shortly after Calvin Johnson broke the curse for him, the next two wide receivers on the cover, Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown. And both those fellas had their moments, but they definitely had some one-star reviews. Now, Calvin Johnson, he was all fired up for that Cowboy game where he got the 329 because Dez Bryant had decided that was the right time for him to say that I'm the best at what I do. So Calvin Johnson took that as a challenge, goes for 329. Now, Stan, you may not know this, but you may, given the Saints connection, the NFL receiving yards record, 336.
Was that Flipper Anderson? Yeah.
Flipper Anderson. Were you at that game? That was at New Orleans.
What year was that?
1989. You would have been like little 15-year-old Stanley Verrett.
No, I wasn't at that game. I was in college then and didn't make a lot of games during that time.
Okay. I had you as 15-year-old. You'd be 25-year-old.
No, 1989?
Yeah.
I was 23.
23. All right.
You weren't a math major.
No. I wasn't much of a student at all.
I had just graduated from college. I was living in D.C. then, so I didn't get to a lot of Saints games.
So Flipper Anderson got all the 336 yards because Henry Ellard missed that game. Mike Patrick, who called the game for ESPN, said nobody even mentioned Flipper Anderson's name. It never even came up in the pre-production meetings. And that was the same game that Ricky Jackson came back right after he'd smashed his Corvette in the back of a pickup truck going 100 miles an hour, broke his cheek, had a metal plate put in his head. They said he'd be out 3 months. The dude missed 6 days. That's just back in the day.
That's
there
a
you
Hall
go.
of Famer right there.
All right, I'm done for the day. Thank you. Goodbye.
Neil with his NFL history lesson right there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's talk about the NFC. Bucks are all banged up. They're 5-2 now, but they're in a log jam in the NFC. So you can only have one. You got Green Bay 4-1-1, and then you have 6 teams at 5-2. Philly's 5-2. Lions now 5-2. Tampa Bay now 5-2. 49ers 5-2. The Rams at 5-2, and Seattle at 5-2. So that's the scenario right now as we approach the halfway point of the NFL season. Who's the best team in the NFC in your book?
Well, I got the Lions in the Super Bowl, so I'm riding the Lions.
Yeah. Every time I want to say it's not the Eagles do something that makes you say it is the Eagles. I mean, Jalen Hurts with his first 300-yard game in over a year, fantastic. Got the ball to A.J. Brown, got the ball to Devontae Smith, and when the Eagles offense plays like that, man, they're really tough to beat. So I'm kind of bullish on Philly again because, I don't like the tush push. I really, really don't like it. But you see so many teams on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and they don't convert. I mean, we saw it with the Texans last night. In the other game we'll talk about. I mean, Philly is almost automatic when they get in that situation, and it's a real difference maker because those plays sometimes can determine games and keep drives moving. So, having that in their pocket when they get in that kind of situation, I'm kind of bullish on the Eagles again, but I really like the Lions as well. So the Bucks head to New Orleans, take on the Saints next week. Mike Evans broken clavicle as a result of that game last night, and that hit didn't look good when he hit his head on the ground. And then Detroit going to take on Minnesota in their next game.
You know what I found interesting in that game last night, Stan, was Mayfield and Goff. Neither of them looked very good. Neither quarterback. Mayfield looked rattled the entire night. Yep. And Goff was off. But that Detroit defense, that was the difference maker in that one, without a doubt. They just they showed up, and this was a defensive backfield that was missing, I think, all 4 of their number ones back there.
Yeah.
And yet, the thing you always have to remember, they talk about when they're playing their backups. Their backups are still among the greatest football players on the planet, because that's what that league doesn't accept. McScruffersons. It only
Yep.
accepts guys who can play. If you can't play, you won't be on the team.
Yep. Kelvin Shepard, their defense coordinator, dialed up a great game plan, took away the run from Tampa Bay, and forced Baker Mayfield to throw it 50 times, which is not what Tampa Bay wants to do. He's been playing at an MVP level, but not enough last night. All right, so the other game, Seattle did get to smile because of football, because the Seahawks knocked off the Texans. Jackson Smith and Jigba continues his torrid start to the season. 8 catches, 123 yards. He's got 500-yard games now in Seattle's first 7 games. And, Cooper Kupp on that team as well. And he says Smith and Jigba has just shown all the traits that you want to see in a number one receiver. And he's really becoming maybe the best receiver in the NFL. I mean, the production says so. And Seattle able to do that against Houston, which came in with the number one scoring defense in the league. But Houston's offense they just can't seem to figure it out.
Yeah, here's Houston is what happened to Houston? They were so good last year, they fall to 2-4. Here's the way that Seahawk game went. If you were a Seahawk fan, okay, you got there early, and then you were like this. You were watching the Mariner game on your phone. Okay, then the Seahawk game started, and you watched the Seahawks get 2 touchdowns in their first 3 possessions, up 14-0. Then you went back to your phone and watching the Mariners through the rest of the first half. The Seahawks win despite going 2 for 14 on 3rd down, which is not as bad as going 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position on a game 7 for the trip to the World Series.
But some of Houston's play calling, though, it just really confused me. So they had a 1st and goal inside the 1, trying to get back in the game. Okay. Now, C.J. Stroud is not Bryce Young. He's a big dude. And so I don't understand. Why not just quarterback sneak it and let him get in? I mean, look, I know Seattle has a great defensive front. Okay. And their offensive line, Houston's offensive line, isn't the best. But this is one of those times where a coach has to say, look, man, we got to man up and get less than a yard and get a touchdown. Okay.
Yeah.
But they threw the ball, and then they got a flag for a false start, and just the whole thing just sort of unraveled for them. Their offense is just a mess right now, and their defense is playing so well. It's almost unfair to their defense that their offense can't execute. And then they were throwing the ball down the field like they'd have a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 6, and they're throwing the ball 40 yards down the field, and it just wasn't working. They only had 1 offensive touchdown. I mean, Darnold gave them a gift with a sack and a fumble in the end zone. They recovered for a touchdown, but they got to figure some things out, because the season's starting to slip away from them at 2-4, and they take on the 49ers in Houston next. Seattle gets a bye week, so they get to savor this 5-2 start for a week, get a little more healthy before they resume their season. But
yeah, there was once a team that was like a yard away from basically winning a Super Bowl, and had a guy they called beast mode in the backfield, and they decided to pass the ball. Yeah. And that did not work out well for them.
I heard somebody say one time that, like, the reason why sometimes coaches don't do what seems obvious is that no one gets called a genius for running 34 smash. You know what I mean? You get called a genius for formations and motion and intricate pass patterns and that sort of stuff if you just turn around, hand the ball to the running back, and let him do his thing behind an offensive line that's blocking. There's nothing genius about it, but a lot of other coaches will tell you if you run the ball and stop the run, that's where it all begins. Blocking and tackling.
Yeah, it's like order a cheeseburger. What, you're putting avocado on your cheeseburger? What are you doing?
I do love avocado though.
But I mean, that's like running a flea flicker on the 3. Just, punch it in.
All right, Neil, let's talk some baseball now and welcome in our good friend and Dodgers studio analyst, Jerry Hairston Jr., who covers the Dodgers on Sportsnet LA. Jerry, great to see you, man. Boy, that's a very impressive man cave you got there.
My sister-in-law and my sister did that. They just took the stuff and helped me out with it. They definitely have a lot more
Nine
style
major
than I
league
do.
teams. You got, I see Orioles, I see Dodgers. What's seventh? That was
Yankees
Yankees.
is 17. I got everybody who played on that '09 team when we won the World Series to sign that jersey. That's my jersey. We won it that year in '09. That's a pretty cool item. I got Cal Jr. who signed that Orioles jersey. He signed it to me. I got Ken Griffey Jr. to my left. I played with Junior in 2000. And actually, I was on base when he hit his 600th home run. I met him at the plate, so that's always a cool thing. My favorite player growing up was Junior, so to meet him at the plate, he signed a jersey for me as well. So I got a couple different items for me, and it's always a good talking point when people come over. The World Series ring, I got three of them now.
And I
got three.
know from
Hopefully, I have four after
yeah.
this World Series. I have them in my safe, nicely tucked away.
So one with the Yankees and then two as a Dodgers analyst.
Yes, two as a Dodgers analyst. So Stan, you guys know, you know this as well. I'm there to encourage these guys. So because I encourage them, hey Shohei, go hit a home run. He does that, and that allows me to get a World Series ring. So once again, I'm riding the coattails of great players.
All right, before we get to this year's World Series, let's talk a little bit about Game 7 last night. The Stars stepped up, first of all, for Seattle with Rodriguez and Raleigh doing what they needed to do, but then George Springer dashed the hopes of everybody in the Pacific Northwest, including Neil, with that home run. You delivered a big hit for the '09 Yankees in the ALCS. What's the difference between hitting in the postseason the way Springer has done so well and hitting during the regular season?
Well, I think everything's magnified. You realize that everybody's watching you because you're usually the only game going on, especially from the ALCS or the NLCS. I think the biggest thing is not get overwhelmed with the situation. You know that this game is of significance and of importance, but you got to make sure, trust what you've done in the past, whether it's in high school, college, at the big league level. Try to get a good pitched hit. And when you get a good pitched hit, do not miss it. That was the key with Springer. He was able to take a pitch, gets to 1-0. He knows the pitcher is going to throw him a sinker at around 95 to 98 miles an hour. But the key is make sure it's up. It was up enough, and George Springer did not miss it. And in a huge situation, he hits that 3-run bomb to put them ahead for good. It was something to see. You know, postseason baseball, in my opinion, I think postseason hockey, playoff hockey is unbelievable. But I think postseason baseball, man, it's nothing like it because there's no time limit. It's pitch to pitch. You have to get outs. And that was definitely a special moment for the Blue Jays and really a special moment for Canada.
All right, so now we get Dodgers and Blue Jays in the World Series. Your initial thoughts on what could decide the series?
I think it's the Dodgers starting staff. I think right now they're the hottest starting staff in all of baseball.
What's it feel like to hit a home run, Jerry? You hit 70 of them. You weren't a home run hitter, but still, 70 times you hit a home run. What's that feel like?
It's an incredible feeling, Neil. It really is. So you know what's better? When you hit a walk-off home run.
I want to get your comments on what Dave Roberts said. He said he hopes the Dodgers can go in and win the World Series and further ruin baseball. You know, there are people who are saying, look, the Dodgers they're just buying championships.
There's a lot of teams that spend money, tons of money. There's teams that spend a ton of money that didn't even make the playoffs. Didn't even make the play. And there are teams that really didn't spend a whole lot of money, like let's say maybe Milwaukee or Cincinnati, and they made the playoffs. So listen, do what you can to better your ball club, whether it's spend money or build through the draft or sign free agents via, from the Dominican or Venezuela. You do what you can to build your team.
Thanks, Jerry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Let's talk NBA now. Season tipping off tonight. And I'm really, really excited about it. A lot of good teams in the NBA, especially in the West. And you and I get to see two of them up close. You with the Trailblazers and me with the Clippers. So let's get it started with our Eastern Conference finalists and our Western Conference finalists and our NBA champion for this season.
And just so full transparency, since Stan works for the Clippers and I work for the Trailblazers, we're going to eliminate them from the conversation because otherwise I have Portland winning the NBA championship.
Hey, now I really do have the Clippers going to the Western Conference Finals, and I can explain why.
Okay. Well, I have Portland winning it all. So there.
Protect that check, man. Protect that check.
Hey, man, I'm a believer.
Okay, so I'll go Western Conference first. I think it'll be OKC and the Clippers. I think Oklahoma City. There's this whole thing about you go from the hunter to the hunted, but I think those young guys are confident more so than they've ever been with a championship under their belt. Remember, they didn't have Chet Holmgren for a big part of the season last season, and he's healthy now. I know Jalen Williams a little banged up, but I don't see Oklahoma City taking a step back. I mean, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has a game that I think is fluke proof. I don't think that's a one-hit wonder. I think he can go out there and do that night after night the way he did it last season. So I don't see them taking a step back. But I really believe in the Clippers, and I'm not just saying that because I work for them. If you look at what they did last season, they won 50 games with Kawhi Leonard only playing the back half of the season. Now, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Ivica Zubac all had a complete training camp together, complete preseason together. Leonard is healthy. They add Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, Brooke Lopez. They are too deep at every position. And if they won 50 last year, and I think they got better, they lost Norman Powell, but I think they got better overall. And I think if they stay healthy, which is the big concern, when you have all those guys who are 30 plus, you got to worry about health, knees and ankles and hamstrings, But if they stay healthy, I think the Clippers can really do some things in the West. But I still see OKC as the best team in the West. I got them coming out. What do you see in the West?
Okay, Portland aside, I've got Denver coming out of the West. I listen, because the Thunder were stolen from Seattle. I cannot root for them. I cannot pick them. I love their players. Their players are great. I love Chet. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. It's wonderful to watch. I despise their ownership. So I won't pick OKC because I won't root for OKC, and I don't wish any goodwill upon OKC as an ownership group. So I'm going with Denver. They took OKC to 7 last season. They're a better team this year. They've got Cam Johnson. He's a better addition than Michael Porter is a departure. They've got the Joker, and there's only one of them in the deck. So I think he's the best all-around player in the game. And I'm going to go with Denver, and I'm going to go with Houston. They got Kevin Durant. They got the coach who just looks like if you don't like, he might rip your head off if you. I mean, he kind of he's got that like Bobby Knight look to him.
So they're going to rebound and play defense and run.
Yeah, and they finished second in the West last year, then got spanked in the first round of the playoffs. That spanking stung. They're bringing in Durant, who doesn't have anything to prove, but acts like he does, or it seems like he's always pissy with somebody. And I just think he knows that he's got a couple good years left in him, and I mean, if you're picking 400-year-old Chris Paul, I can pick 38-year-old Kevin Durant. So I'm Blazers aside, I'm going Denver, Houston.
Okay, and you got Denver coming out of the West.
Yes.
All right. How about the East? I'm going with Knicks and Cavaliers in the East. I think the Knicks with Mike Brown, they're going to play solid defense as well. And Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Karl Anthony Towns will give them enough offense where, Boston's down, Indiana's down. They don't have Halliburton. Celtics don't have Jason Tatum. So I think the Knicks have a pretty smooth ride to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I really, really, really like the Cavaliers. They were banged up in the playoffs last year. I thought, after that regular season that they had, that they would have been more of a factor in the playoffs, but they were banged up in the playoffs. If they stay healthy, I mean, Cleveland is immensely talented. Really like their roster. They lost Ty Jerome, so they lose some scoring off the bench. But I really like the Cavaliers, and I have the Cavaliers over the Knicks to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I gave a look at Orlando. They got Desmond Bane. He's a killer.
Yeah.
They got a lot of young guys. I think they're probably, they're on the doorstep. They're getting ready to knock. The Knicks, they came a whisker, away from the championship round, and then they fired their coach.
Yeah.
Lost all 4 games to Cleveland last season. I'm going to go the Cavaliers, and I'm going to go the Celtics, even without Jason Tatum.
Wow.
Because they fire 50 threes a game. Nobody shoots threes like Boston. They got Anthony Simons, who all he does is shoot threes. I think he's going to be the 6th man of the year or the comeback player of the year. I think he's going to explode in Boston. He doesn't have to carry the load that he thought he did in Portland. Tatum's out. They still got Jaylen Brown. They still got Derek White. They still got the little 4-leaf clover on their jersey. There's something about them. And then the Cavaliers, because they had to be bitter about how their playoff run went last year. They returned almost intact. And so I think I'm going with the Cavaliers over the Celtics, with the Cavaliers and Nuggets in the finals.
Okay, so we both have the Cavaliers in the East. I got OKC in the West. You got the Nuggets. I got OKC over Cleveland. I think, they're young and they're talented. I mean, young guys, when they get hurt, they recover more quickly. They get hurt less. They really know how to play. They got their system. They run it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, night after night, he does what he needs to do. Everybody plays their role. I just think this could be the makings of a dynasty here with OKC. I got them going back to back.
I've got Cleveland.
Oh, okay. All right. So mark it down. I got OKC. Neil's taking Cleveland to win the NBA championship. We will see what happens. Season starting tonight. Some good games to kick off the season too. So how about the Blazers? When's their first game?
You know what? I should know that. I just know when my first game with them is, but I'm pretty sure they're playing tonight at 7:00. I think they're playing Sacramento tonight, if I remember correctly. I got a lot going on in my mind. I'm trying to get over the Mariner thing. Blazers are going to be really good. They're going to listen. They just signed Shaedon Sharpe and Toumani Camara to rookie extension contracts. Yep. So they got them in the fold. Camara is the best player in the NBA that nobody knows about. Shaedon Sharpe is going to be the next best player in the NBA that some people have seen him, on the highlights with the dunks. Scoot Henderson out hurts. Drew Holiday having a bounce back year. Damian Lillard, the most expensive assistant coach in the history of the NBA, will add some juice from the sideline even when he can't play. Donovan Clingan is hungry. Denny Advia is so good, so underrated. He's a bull in a china shop. They got
You are earning that check, baby. You are earning that check.
And I am. The Blazers host the Timberwolves Wednesday. Honey, we don't have to watch the Blazers tonight. They're not on. I'm fired up. It's the 5th year that I've had this job with the Blazers, and it was an interesting story, Stan. And since it's our show, we can take all the time we want. I was in Seaside, Oregon, along the Oregon coast, about 90 miles west from Portland. This was about 5 years ago, and I was having lunch with a neighbor of mine. And he said, "Hey, man, the Blazers are looking for a pregame host." And I was like, "Really?" Because I had already figured out that the suits back east were slowly squeezing me out of the equation. And so I'm like, "Okay, I better get a backup plan here." And sure enough, so I called somebody up in Portland and I said, "Hey, man, do you have the number to the president of the Blazers?" Yeah. He goes, "Yeah." Guy's name was Chris McGowan.
Okay.
And so I said, okay. And so I just cold called him.
Wow.
And said, "Hey, Neil Everett here. I heard you're looking for somebody for this gig." And he goes, "Yeah, you're interested?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, let's talk." And while we're talking, Chris McGowan quits and takes a job with the Pistons.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Before we've got anything down on paper.
Oh,
and I'm like, no. But fortunately, his right-hand man, Dwayne Hankins, he's still there. And I got a hold of him and we worked it out, and it's the greatest gig. I love it. You know, I fly up to I still live in LA. I fly up to Portland to do the gig, work with Michael Holton, went to UCLA, played 9 years in the league. Francis Williams, coached up in Seattle, coached Doug Christie at Rainier, and was a former scout for the Charlotte Hornets. He's got some good MJ stories always. We've got a great crew up there. And so I'm ready. I am all about, it's the team I grew up watching. It's kind of like you working for the Saints, Stan. There's something about that when it's like, hey, it's like, everything in life comes around in a circle, and it's like, hey man, I'm back to the starting point. My dad took me to games, the mid 1970s, Bill Walton, Maurice Lucas, Dave Twardzik, Lionel Hollins, Bobby Gross, Herm Gilliam, all these dudes. And it just, I love it. I wish I could do every game.
All right. That's fantastic, man. I'm looking forward to a great experience like that with the Clippers as well. When I made the decision that I wasn't going to go back to the East Coast, back to Bristol, when ESPN shut down SportsCenter LA, I wanted to stay in LA, but I wanted to continue working. And so this opportunity popped up with the Clippers. And the wonderful thing about it is it's something new and exciting at this point in my career, which is fantastic. And then, we're at heart, we're storytellers. That's what we do. We tell stories, and to be able to tell the story of a team as it unfolds over the course of an entire season is just a fantastic opportunity as a sports journalist. So that's the part of it I'm really looking forward to, because, I was at ESPN for 25 years. I got to ESPN relatively quickly after just a few years in local television. So I didn't get the chance to do something this specific in terms of following a team. I got a chance to do with the Old Dominion women back in 1996. They went to the NCAA championship. But to be able to follow a professional team from start to finish, solely focused on them, not working for a local TV station in the market, but just working with the team and being able to tell that story, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to do that, especially with a team that I think is going to be as good as the Clippers are. So,
well, plus you get to fly on the team plane, man. I can't wait to hear about the team plane
for road games. I'm doing a limited schedule of road games, mostly home games, but a limited schedule of road games. Yeah, I am looking forward to nice hotels, charter flights, and good food. I
want to hear all about that if they don't make you sign an NDA.
All right. Hey, you want to talk a little bit of college football before we go?
Sure.
All right.
You know what? But first, before we talk college football, because we kind of glossed over the NFL, we only talked about the Monday night football games because we got so much other stuff to talk about.
All right. What do you
got? How many unwatchable games were there on Sunday from the NFL?
If there were ever a time you're going to play solitaire while a game's going on, Sunday would have been a good day to do it.
Oh my God. The Rams drop kicked the Jags in London 35-7. The Chiefs shut out the Raiders in KC 31-0. Cleveland destroys Miami in Cleveland 31-6. Patriots no problem with the Titans 31-13. Panthers Jets, seriously? I mean, the dollar figure would have to be five figures to watch that. I mean, those were the early games Sunday. They were god awful, and then the game that you thought was god awful ended up being like NFL history. That Giants debacle against the Broncos, where they're up like
33 points in the fourth quarter.
30, yeah, unbelievable. And Denver pulled that out. Oh my God!
I had to go back and watch that. I saw it on the highlights. They said Denver scores 33 points in the fourth quarter. I'm like, 33 points in the fourth quarter. What? So I had to go back and watch it. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But look, I've been bullish on the Broncos the whole time. They've been sort of up and down. You know what I mean? And I was worried they were going to lose that, but they were able to pull it out. Your guy Bo Nix delivered some big plays down the stretch.
Yeah, you know what they say when it turns into like it's a game of football in the street, and you're just kind of drawing up plays in that Bo Nix excels, and he got it going there. I'm happy for him, and and I'm worried about the Giants, who now go to Philly this week, a team they beat a couple weeks ago after wearing that loss around their neck. Oh my God, they're gonna get throttled.
All right, a little bit of college football before we go. How about the upsets in college football? Number 2, Miami goes down to Louisville. Number 5, Mississippi loses to number 9, Georgia. Not really that much of a surprise there. I thought Georgia would beat them. Number 7, Texas Tech losing to Arizona State. Number 10, LSU loses to number 17, Vanderbilt. Number 11, Tennessee loses to number 6, Alabama. Again, not really a shock there because Alabama's been playing well since that season opening loss. So, Neil, we got Ohio State at number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M number 3, Alabama number 4, Georgia number 5, your Ducks at number 6, Georgia Tech undefeated at number 7, Mississippi at number 8, Miami falls all the way to number 9, Vanderbilt at number 10, BYU also undefeated at number 11, and Notre Dame, big win over USC, they're at number 12. So, look, everybody's buying Ohio State and Indiana, I would think, right?
I mean, Ohio State looks like it's them and then whoever else. But I mean, they look like they look unbelievable.
Yeah, their defense is just. I mean, they put it on Wisconsin and shut them out. Luke Fickell, I think, in big trouble at Wisconsin. That could be another domino to fall in the coaching carousel. But I tell you what, Indiana, man, I wish they played Ohio State in the regular season. They don't. But that would be a fantastic game. So the only way we're going to see that is if we see it in the Big Ten championship or in the college football playoff. And it looks like both of those teams are headed for a beeline to the Big Ten championship. But I tell you what, Texas A&M, really good. They still have LSU, Missouri, and at Texas to close the season. Missouri's pretty good. They play at LSU. I mean, if that's a night game, maybe the Tigers find a way to challenge them, but Texas A&M really looking good. And then you got Alabama and Georgia, who've been there before, sitting at 4 and 5, 2 really dangerous teams as well. And then Oregon, Neil, I'm looking at what you guys got left, and this looks like a pretty nice ride too. You got Wisconsin, at Iowa, Minnesota, USC, and then at Washington. Are you feeling like you're going to run the table?
No, well, of course, I feel like Oregon's going to run the table because that's the way my mind works. But the real reality is Minnesota's not bad.
No.
Playing at Iowa is not easy. USC, I mean, had Notre Dame in its sights and then gives up a kickoff return for touchdown after taking
they had some bad play calling too. USC had some bad play calling too. Some really bad play calling.
And listen, Washington, that game's at Washington, and their quarterback had a bad game at Michigan, but Washington, Oregon, for those who don't know, that's the rivalry game. It's not Oregon State and it's not Washington State for Washington. That's the in-state rivalry, but the real I hate you rivalry is Oregon Washington, and that's always
like Michigan Ohio State.
Yes, that is that is that version. So Oregon with a good bounce back, they absolutely dominated Rutgers. But yeah, listen, Oregon's got some work to do. Miami, that's inexplicable. Them losing at home to Louisville, coming off a bye when everything was right. Everything was lined up perfectly for them. It's going to be interesting to see if Mississippi can keep Lane Kiffin. There's talk about Florida. There was talk about UCLA. Yeah. Indiana did what it could to keep its coach by tying him up, so he maybe didn't go to Penn State. Is Brian Kelly, if a third loss, will that spell the end of his run at LSU, Stan?
It sounds like the fans and boosters and all the important people in the program are starting to get a little flustered. You look back, the previous 3 coaches at LSU all won national championships. Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron all won national championships. So you bring Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, and he hasn't delivered yet. So I think fans are starting to get a little upset. They still got Texas A&M and Alabama left. And so if they don't pick it up, especially, I mean, the offense all of a sudden exploded against Vanderbilt, but then the defense couldn't stop Vanderbilt's offense with Diego Pavia and the Commodores. So we'll see. But, I mean, he's definitely, the seat has definitely heated up like the gumbo pot in Baton Rouge under Brian Kelly. But, look, I'm looking at Georgia Tech down the road. Brent Key is doing a phenomenal job with the Yellow Jackets. And you look at what they have left. They have Syracuse, at North Carolina State, at Boston College, Pittsburgh, and then Georgia Tech, Georgia could be one of the most important games of the season when they play in their rivalry game at the end. And look, if Georgia Tech continues playing the way they have, I mean, their quarterback runs a bit much. They got to keep him healthy. But if they can keep him healthy, that Georgia Tech Georgia game could be more meaningful than it has been in a long time.
Well, I think what it comes down to is a one-loss ACC team. They've slotted one team from the ACC. They're going to get two teams if they've got two teams with one loss. Now, I don't know how their championship format works out. If it's Miami and Georgia Tech, and right. Now Miami and now the loser. And if Georgia Tech lost to Georgia, then that would probably be a two-loss team. And somebody's going to be on the outside, either Tech or Miami, the way that thing is shaping up. But it's interesting.
I think they're both in. I think they're both Miami and Georgia Tech. I mean, barring something crazy, I think they're both going to make it. I mean, Miami has Stanford at SMU, Syracuse, North Carolina State, at Virginia Tech, at Pitt. I mean, they'll be favored in all of those games. Some of them a heavy favorite. So I don't see Miami losing another game. But then again, who thought they would lose to Louisville?
Yeah. And who thought Tech would lose to Arizona State? And I think that opens the door for BYU, because the Big 12, from all I hear, is getting one team, and it looks like right now it's either BYU or Tech. Texas Tech look to be in the driver's seat in that conference, if memory serves me well, which it usually doesn't.
Yep, that's a big game coming up. BYU has at Iowa State, and then they go to Texas Tech. So that's another game to circle on the calendar in a couple of weeks. Notre Dame, that win over USC was critical because the rest of the way they really don't have, a game that will help them move up. They have to hope other teams lose and they move up by default because other teams lose. They're sitting at number 12 right now. They go to Boston College. They got Navy. Navy better than people think. They're not just running the ball service academy style anymore. They're pitching it around. They go to Pittsburgh, Syracuse, and then at Stanford. So Notre Dame, if they run the table, they're Notre Dame, so they're going to get in.
Right.
But right now they're sitting at number 12. that win over USC was big because it would be hard to justify a 3-loss Notre Dame team with that loss to USC. But a 2-loss Notre Dame team, they'll find a way to get them in.
But the by default is by their Notre Dame. Exactly.
All right, I think we got it covered.
I feel good about it. I feel good. Tell Steve Ballmer I said, what's up? He married an Oregon journalism major, so he's a smart man, married a duck. Yep. And good luck to your Clippers. Blazers Wednesday. We're back Friday. And it's all good, man. Join us now. Rookie, All-Pro, Hall of Fame. We appreciate you watching on Twitch. Stan, final thoughts, go.
I got to go. That's my final thought.
Boom.
We'll see you on Friday.